Girls. Had some technical difficulties this morning. Hello. We are live. We had some technical difficulties this morning, so apologize for that, for our late start. But it looks like we're up and running now. So I'll just give people an opportunity to get connected to us since, as I said, we had some technical difficulties and wasn't able to start a little earlier than expected. So let me get situated here. It is a beautiful Saturday morning here in Englewood, Ohio. My name is Kim Conklin, and I am a community development manager with Girl Scouts of Western Ohio. And as I said, we are broadcasting live today from my home in Englewood, Ohio. So, good morning from Oceanside, New York. Well, that is exciting. I hope your weather is as nice there as what it is here. We've had a lot of rain lately, so it's nice to see the spring weather come back. See things warm up a little bit. So as I said, we're going to just wait maybe another minute to allow people to join in. Is anybody out there working on a room right now? Are you decorating a room and the timing of this badge is spot on for you? Oh, it's beautiful in New York today. Good. Great to hear. So as I said, my name is Kim, and we are here in my craft nook. I do a lot of arts and crafts. My mother was an artist, so I grew up in a household with a lot of paint and clay and creativity, and as an adult now, I continue that. And my craft nook has many supplies that I have collected and used throughout the years, and I find arts and crafts a stress reliever for me. If I've had a particularly stressful day, I like to come home and paint. It's what makes me feel good. So we are going to go ahead and get started. As I said, my name is Kim, broadcasting here from Englewood, Ohio. And today we are going to be working on the Senior Room Makeover badge. And I am going to give you some tips and techniques for steps 1, 2, 3, and 5. And then I'm going to do a live demonstration for step 4. I have a cameraman over here that's helping me. I'm going to show you how we are going to turn this old rope spool into a laptop stool for your room. But that'll be towards the end. So one of the first things that you will need to do before working on this badge or starting this project is get permission from your parents. This is a little bit bigger project maybe than what you've done before, and it will involve possibly people from your household. And as I said, it's a bigger project, so make sure that you have your parents' permission before you start rearranging furniture or putting paint on your walls. I think your parents might appreciate that. So on each of our badges, we have 5 badge steps that you will complete in order to earn that badge. And under each of those 5 badge steps, we have 3 suggestions that you might work on that might speak to you. And I'm just going to run through and talk about those and maybe give you some tips or techniques on those steps. So you will be working on this badge on your own. As I said, this is a senior room makeover. As much as I'd like to come to your house and help you paint, because I love to paint, that is just not possible. So you are going to be working on this on your own. Recruit some friends, recruit some family members to help you. That is quite all right. So the first step of the badge is to gather ideas and inspiration. For any project, you've got to have your inspiration, you've got to have ideas, you've got to have a plan. So the 3 steps that we have recommended is you could shadow an interior designer or attend a decorating course. And right now, with our stay-at-home orders, that might be a little challenging to do. But, later on, that could be something that you could do. But if you wanted to get started on your project right away, maybe that's not the step that you'd want to start with. Or you could look at design around the world. There's many, many different design influences that come from other cultures, other countries. So that might be something that you want to consider, is bring flavor of another culture into your room. Like, for example, canopies over our beds, like the netting over beds, that actually came from Moroccan bedrooms. And the purpose for those nettings were to keep the mosquitoes off of people while they were sleeping. But we've turned that in and as a design inspiration. Or another way that you could do this is an inspiration board. And that's what I've done, and that's what I would like to show you. I personally love inspiration boards. I have used inspiration boards for many of my projects. So I'm going to try to show this to you. I think I need my cameraman's help, maybe holding this. And we're backwards when we're on the camera, so just bear with us as we move back and forth to get situated. So this is just a sample of my inspiration board. Your inspiration board can look however you want it. But, as I've named my inspiration board, I've even put what my project is, because I could change this and reuse this board for different rooms. So over here, let's pull it down just a little bit. Over here, we've got some fabric samples that I'm going to use. Got a carpet sample here. I've got some paint samples. I guess what I should have shown you first is pictures that I have cut from magazines, catalogs, that kind of show my inspiration. So, sorry to get a little bit of a glare on that. So this is a bedspread that is gray with black and white, and then it has the red writing for love. So that's where my color scheme's coming from, with my gray and my black and my white, and then my red accent color. So that's my color that kind of gives a little pop to it. And then I like these shelves and this desk and a couple of chairs that I found interesting. These are some lamps. And then over here, this is a curtain that I'd like to put in, and this is the drapery rod that I would use. So my fabric samples would go with my draperies. And then over here, I've got my shopping list. I want to start with my paint and my brush and my tape and my ideas. So I found this picture of a couch that had a lot of the different colored pillows, and I really liked that. So not exactly like that, those colors, but I would like to make those with my color scheme. So those were just some of my ideas. And this is what I'll use to continue with my planning. Now, maybe an inspiration board doesn't necessarily work for you. Maybe it's something more like a binder that you would like, with like your inspiration pages and some sheet protectors. And you can see here, I actually just for today, I put it all on one sheet. But I've got my inspiration ideas. I've got my paint samples here. I've got my fabric sample. And I could take this back and forth to the hardware store, the paint store, the fabric store. So it's really whatever you want to do. And I find that a lot of times I'm inspired by like one object. Like you might see a pineapple and think, I love it. I want my bedroom to be pineapples. And then you just go from there with that theme, with your pineapple and yellow and different colors. So look for something that inspires you, or something that you really like and you'd like to incorporate into your project. Now, one of the first things that you're going to want to do is you are going to want to measure your room, because you're going to want to know what you're dealing with. So I'm going to share with you a drawing that I've done. Let me tilt this down so you can see it a little bit better. Still got me on here. So this drawing shows my room. My room is, I sure hope you can see this. I'm sorry I'm turning that back and forth like that for you. I have a glare here on my end. There's my dog Bolt. He's made a guest appearance over here. I think he wants to help me with my board. But as I was saying, my room is 10 feet by 7 feet. I've got that on my drawing. And I've put here where a window is. I've marked that as a window. And I've drawn where my door is. What I'm showing here is my door open and what it would look like when I close it, because I would want to, not put furniture in that area. And then I've also marked where there's different outlets. And then we have a register in our room, in that room. And I just marked here to show me where that register is. Now, what I'm going to do with that, cameraman, could you help me for a moment, please? So the purpose for this is, this drawing is made to scale, which means that 4 squares on this grid paper equal 1 inch. And 1 inch on this grid paper equals 1 foot in real life. So my room is 10 feet long. If I measure this, you'll see that this line right here is 10 inches long. So that's what I mean to scale. 1 inch on this paper equals 1 foot in real life. So then I did cutouts of my furniture, and they are to scale also. So I can lay these on my diagram and see how that's going to work in my room. We can't tell if you can see this, so we're going on the assumption that you are able to see this. So I could put my bed here and my table, oops, upside down, my table here underneath the window. And let's say I would really like to have a love seat in my bedroom. Well, when I lay that there, that is pretty close. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's not even 2 feet to walk in between my love seat and my bed. And I can't put it over here because I've got a door. So that would tell me that I am not going to be able to fit a love seat in my bedroom. Maybe a chair, a fun chair or something like that. But that tells me I'm not going to be able to have a love seat. So I've got a dresser here, and it would show me the different places that I could put my dresser. Shelf. Sorry, we dropped our bookcase on the floor. But like over here, if I wanted to think about putting a bookcase there, that would tell me I can't do that. I have a register here. So I would want to rearrange my furniture differently. So this just gives you an opportunity to look at how to rearrange your furniture in your room without actually moving all your furniture around. All right. Sorry for the flipping back and forth like that. And it looks like Lindsay loves pineapples, so Lindsay would do a pineapple theme. And yes, Chelsea, just like a Pinterest board. This inspiration board, I believe that that's probably where Pinterest got their ideas from. We were doing inspiration boards, and they took it into the virtual world. So yes, it's like a big Pinterest board. So that would be all for step one. You pick one of those 3 ideas. The inspiration board I think would be a lot of fun. And just remember, on your inspiration board, you're going to have color and texture and fabric swatches and paint samples, and this is when you'll decide your color theme. And also keep in mind that you're going to need to keep a budget. So keep track of your expenses, set an amount that is your budget, and work within your budget. All right, so the next step would be to paint something. And that could be, as I said, we give you 3 different examples of what you could do for each one of the steps. And to paint something, you could paint a wall, you could paint furniture, or you could paint an accent. And I'm going to move our project board to the side for a moment. Like, for example, this is an accent that we painted for our daughter's room. It's a mirror. And showing that to you on camera is a little challenging. But this used to be aqua or teal. And we redid her room into the grays and the maroon that you saw on the inspiration board. And we just went ahead and took this teal mirror that she had in her room. We taped it off with some painter's tape, and we painted it black. So it has a whole different look. Nothing like what it used to look like. Thanks, cameraman. But there are many different kinds of paint and different ways to put paint on. So when you start with a project, one of the first things that you're going to want to do is clean it. You've got to prep it. So you're going to clean it. You will always use a drop cloth when you're painting inside, or at least I always do, and we recommend that. It's very easy to get little drips and drops of paint, or to have a little accident while you're painting. So a drop cloth works good. For me, I'm reusing a Twister game as my drop cloth. It also makes it a little fun when I'm working on projects. So you'll start with cleaning it, and then you may need to get some sandpaper out and sand your wood, get it nice and smooth. And then, like I said, on our mirror, we had to tape it off so that we didn't get paint on the mirror part, so that our paint went on the wooden part, the teal part that we were turning black. And this blue is painter's tape. It's not as sticky as other tapes, but masking tape will work just fine. And then sometimes you've got holes, like nail holes in your walls that you might need to fill in and putty before you paint them. Or if you're working with a piece of wood, maybe creating a table, it might have some gouges in the wood, and you can make it smooth with putty. And as I said, there's many different kinds of paint, and there's many different painting techniques. So before you would get started on painting, I would recommend doing some research on some painting techniques. There's more than just rolling or brushing it on. There's painting techniques where it's like texture paint, where your paint looks like it's marble or wood. But those are techniques. So research that, Google that, and you can learn some steps on some different ways to paint. But I'm just going to show you like the basic paint that's out there. So paint can go on with brushes. These are brushes that have bristles, different sizes. Or there's a foam brush. These are handy if you're doing like a quick project. You can throw these away when you're done with them. I clean my bristle brushes out. I generally throw my foam brushes away. They come in a variety of sizes. You wouldn't want to use a foam brush on something really rough, because this is like a sponge, and when you are painting with it, it would literally tear up the pieces of the sponge and leave it on your project. So if you've got something rough, go with brushes. And then there are rollers. So this is a bigger roller. This is what you would use for a wall. And this is a smaller roller. This is what I use when I'm painting furniture or doors or cupboards. And as you can see, my roller's been used before, so I wash it out very good after I use it, let it dry, and save it, and I use them over and over again for many projects. And you have a small roller tray with a small. Just pour your paint down in there, dip it in, roll like this to get your extra paint off, and you start your project. This is obviously for the bigger, same concept. Paint down in here. You use this to roll, get your extra paint off before you start painting on your wall. When you go and you buy your paint, they'll give you this. Usually your paint store will give you a paint stirrer. Always make sure to stir or shake your paint. Even if you used it the day before, the next day, stir it or shake it. Most paint stores will also give you this. That's how you open up your can. These are free. And so just showing you, this is a small can of colored paint. This I would use for my accents. This is my red accent color. This is just a little bit bigger can for bigger projects. And when you're working on like painting your walls, you'll use a gallon. You'll use one of the big ones, big gallons of paint and the big roller. And then there's also like little craft paint and an artist's brush that you can do if you wanted to, say, paint flowers on your wall or circles or, you know, triangles or a mural. You could get into using the art paint. And then there's also spray paint. This is your regular spray paint. And spray paint was actually what we used when we painted the black mirror. You will use spray paint outside. Please don't spray paint inside. This is spray paint that is designed especially for plastic. So it bonds to the molecules of the plastic and it won't just scrape off. So if you're painting plastic, look for specific plastic paint. Then there's fun paint, like this is chalkboard paint. You could paint your wall with this or paint a board and have your own chalkboard. And then, in addition to paint, we also have stain. Now, stain is exactly that. It stains the wood. So like this box here, for example, this has been stained and then varnished. So varnish is like a top coat that makes it shiny. And you can see the wood grain through this, which is different from like here where I have painted a brick. So that's the difference between paint, varnish, and regular paint. So your second step is paint something. And as I said, I really enjoy painting. I'm going to hand this all back to my cameraman now and talk to you about the third step. Cameraman, can you take that? So the third step in the badge would be to glue or sew something. Glue or sew fabric. Now some of you have a sewing machine out there and you're able to use a sewing machine. That's great. Some of you might need someone to show you how to use a sewing machine. You can also hand sew. And there's other things out there if you don't have a sewing machine and you don't know how to hand sew. Some projects you can do with a glue gun and a glue stick. Some projects you can do with liquid stitch. You can buy this at your craft store. And this is glue made specifically for fabric. There is stitch witchery. That is not easy to say. And this you would use with an iron. So you can actually like hem curtains with this by using an iron. So some of the things that we suggest that you could sew or glue for your badge would be curtains or a room divider, a table runner, a wall hanging, a throw rug, or a pillow. A pillow is a really easy first sewing project. If you haven't If you haven't started a sewing project before, a pillow might be what you want to start with. And I just want to show you, I made this for my daughter's room. This is actually a bed skirt, but it's the same thing as a curtain, just shorter. And it's very easy to make. It only has 2 to 3 seams on it. So I just have a side seam, and then my top seam where I put it over my rod, and my hem. And I did this with a sewing machine, but you could use stitch witchery and an iron and do the very same thing if you don't have a sewing machine. So again, simple. If you do a sewing machine, we'd like for you to try some different stitches. So maybe some commonly used stitches with your sewing machine. A straight stitch, which is just straightforward. A back stitch, which is just going backwards with your stitch. A blanket stitch, and a cross stitch. So if you have access to a sewing machine, try those 4 stitches. I like to sew. And then our 4th step is redo something. And as I said earlier, I'm going to demo something for you on that. But I'm going to talk with you about the steps. So when you redo something, you take something that you already have and you make it brand new. So you could refurbish or refresh an item, and that could be like updating a dresser with new legs or new knobs. Maybe you've got curtains or a bedspread and you want to change the color. You could tie-dye it. Or you could repurpose, and that's where you take an item and you turn it into something new. You have a new purpose for it. So like taking a wooden door and turning it into the top of a table, or taking a board and using chalkboard paint and turning it into a chalkboard, or maybe even a rope spool into a laptop stool. Or another way is to repair or fix an item. So maybe a broken chair, or a dresser that's sticking, or a dresser that has a knob that's come off. Or maybe it's filling holes or gouges in wood before you paint it. But that would be your 4th step, to redo something. And then the 5th step in the badge is to build something. And when you do this, try to bring an element of nature into your room. So for example, you could build something out of wood or metal, like a simple wood table or a frame, or maybe a metal coat rack, or a jewelry holder, and that could be with metal hooks. Or maybe a found item, like although we're doing step 4 as the demonstration, redo something, it could also work in this badge step here, because this is an item that was found and we're going to do something with it. So some other ideas would be maybe shelves from bricks or old books. And that's what I've done here. I've made shelves out of old bricks. Or the 3rd suggestion that we have for you is an art piece. So maybe make a vase or a bowl out of clay, or a sculpture from wood or twisted metal, or bring a planter or a plant hanger in that you are able to create. So those are the 5 steps for the Senior Room Makeover. And, I think this is such a fun project to do. If you've got a room that you want to redecorate, it is an easy way, an easy, fun way to earn a badge because it's something that you're already doing. Does anybody have any questions? Let me just check the question log real quick. I don't see anything. So we're going to go ahead and start our demonstration on how to recover or how to turn the rope spool into a stool. And I am going to need my cameraman's help with this. So as I said, we always start with our drop cloth. And we've done things a little different just for this video. I wanted to show you how to paint the stool and cover it, but I couldn't have wet paint and try to show you how to cover it. So I pre-painted some area on the stool that we are going to cover, but I did leave the bottom unpainted so I can show you how to do that. But we are going to do that. We're going to do that last. So for this demonstration, for this video, I have done things a little bit backwards. So when you do this in the real world, paint everything first, top, bottom, sides, and then you'll recover. Don't do it the way I'm showing you today, painting part of it, putting a cover on it, painting it again. So when we started with this, and I'm going to move, cameraman, can you help me move this table up just a little closer? That might not help, but we'll see. So when we got this, it has some screws down here that stuck out further than the wood. So we needed to come up with a way to make the stool sit up a little bit higher than these screws. So we just took some plain wooden blocks and just attached it on there with some screws. And you could actually use a wood glue for that if you didn't have screws to be able to do it. And then we painted it. So, once you've painted your stool, the first step to this, here, I'm going to move back because you can't see there. So, I'm not ready for that yet, okay? So what I did is I have a piece of foam here. I'm going to show you the supplies. Sorry, I forgot to do that. So a piece of foam. I have my fabric. We are going to be using a staple gun. This is where you may need some help from your parents, somebody else in your household with a staple gun, and safety glasses. So anytime that you're using a power tool, you're going to want safety glasses. Although this staple gun does not have a cord to it and is probably technically not considered a power tool, it does shoot staples out. And you do have to be careful with this. So I would recommend wearing safety glasses anytime that you're using a staple gun. It is not a toy. It is a tool. And please, be aware of that. So the first thing you're going to do is lay your foam out. And Put your stool on it. And then just using scissors, I just cut around the outside of my wood piece of my stool. I'm going to call it a stool now because it's almost there. And I left about 2 inches. You want to be able to fold this over and staple it. So you don't want to measure it right to the end of your project because you won't be able to fold it over and staple it. And then I did the exact same thing for my fabric. So on my inspiration board, I don't know if you noticed or if you could see it, but my big piece of inspiration was a gray bedspread that had some black and white stripes, and then it had red writing that said love. So the gray is the main part of my room, and my red is my accent. So I decided that I was going to cover the top of my stool with my accent color. And same thing just with my foam. I laid my stool down. And I actually like my fabric to be a little bit bigger than my foam. I want to make sure that my foam is covered. So if I make it a little bit bigger, then I'm sure to have my foam covered. Now let me see if I can get this a little bit closer where you can see our hands better. You might not be able to see our face as we do this, but our face is not putting the stool together. Our hands are. All right, so this is where my cameraman's going to come in and help. And what we're going to do, I have the drop cloth down because we're going to paint. Here, actually move that drop cloth. They'll be able to see it better. Then we'll put the drop cloth on when we go back to painting. All right. So, lay your fabric out. Lay your foam out. Put your stool on. Try to center it as best you can. And we're going to come over here and we're going to staple the fabric and the foam close to the edge. Not on the edge, but close to it. Okay. And then we're going to pull that nice and tight. Now, this is bigger than what we needed, and I'm going to cut the excess off when we're done. But this lets us have plenty of room. Keep your fingers away when you're using the stapler. There you go. Okay. So now we've done all 4 sides, and we're just going to come in to the 4 corners that we have left. We're just going to pull on that. And here's the trick. So you pull to get rid of your wrinkles. So I had like a little wrinkle there, and I'm just going to give like a little fold. Go over on the wrinkle. There we go. And see, here's another one. Just going to pull that tight. Get that wrinkle on the bottom, not on the side. You want to see what that's looking like? We've got one side here done. See how nice and tight that is? And then we're just going to keep doing that same thing again. So we're over here on our other side. give it a fold, pull on it. Try to show them without standing there. Okay. Got one more over here. You see how that works? You just keep moving along. There's my other one. And I got one more left. It's a good idea to look at it. Yep, looks great. And my final end. Whoops, sorry. And one more right here. All right. So then I would take my big scissors. Cameraman, do you see my big scissors? I would take my scissors and just cut off this extra. Just like that. Close to my staple. And you can turn it over, put some more staples in it to make it nice and neat. It's really up to you. But we could go around and put more staples everywhere and then cut it. But for today, just gonna do the quick cut for you. Now, a lot of times when somebody is covering something, then they will take, like you could take some felt. Sorry, should have had this out. You can take some felt and cut it to the shape of the bottom with your hole, and you could just hot glue that on top of that. You didn't like seeing those raw edges. But honestly, when you turn it over like this, once we cut everything and you turn it over like this, you wouldn't see that at all. So that's up to you on whether or not you want to cover it. But I'm going to go ahead and just cut this down real quick. And then the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to quickly paint the top. I'm sorry, the bottom. It's upside down for me right now. See, I've just cut off my excess. I like to cut it where the foam doesn't show, where all you see is the material. And then, as I said, we would take the stapler and there, cameraman, you want to show them how we just take it and go close to the edge. Here too, just run a couple of them. Then I'll show you when you turn this up, how that looks like that. Okay. So for painting, let's put our drop cloth on real quick. Okay. And then could you get me that gray can of paint? And the paintbrush. So I was telling you about the we have temporarily misplaced our thing to open our paint. I see it. Hold on. Sorry to go off camera, folks. Give me a screwdriver. You know, this just goes to show you can practice and practice and practice and have all your supplies together. And then you put down the thing that you use to open up your paint, and you have to improvise. So I was showing you a paint opener earlier. We've gone to a screwdriver now. Now I reuse my brushes for the same project. So when I painted this, when I was done, I took it and I put it in a Ziploc baggie and I sealed it, and it is fine to use now. So there's my paint in here. When you dip your brush in your paint, you're not gonna dip the whole brush down in there and come up with a big gob of paint that's running down your brush. You're just gonna get your bristles. Just get paint on your bristles. You really don't want paint up here on the metal part of your paintbrush, just your bristles. And then wood has a grain, that's the way that the wood runs. And when you're painting, you can see that, you can feel that. So you'll want to paint with the grain. So you're going in the direction of the wood. And just gently, you don't need big globs of paint, you don't need big puddles of it. You don't need to press very hard. Let your paintbrush do the job. It's your tool. Let it do the work for you. Same thing when you're rolling paint on with a roller. You don't press down real hard with it. You just gently roll it. Let your tool do its work. So you can see here, I'm just going through and going around my edges, getting those. Go front and back with your brush. So you got paint on both sides of it. So use the paint from both sides. Come all the way to your edges. Go past them. There's those rascally screws I've got. I'm just going to paint over the top of them, because no one's going to see them. Just like this. I love to paint because it just immediately transforms something. So you guys saw the way this looked. This was just this old stained wheel, piece of wood with old letters on it, and just one coat of paint that looks completely different. Now on this, I'm able to cover it with one coat of paint, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes when you paint, you need 2 coats. I've even painted cupboards before where I had to put 3 coats on. But don't get discouraged if you put a coat of paint on and it looks splotchy, or you can see a little bit of what was there before showing through. Don't get discouraged, because usually when you put that second coat of paint on, it will fix all that. All the splotchiness is gone. All what you were trying to cover is gone. And you don't want to do like big puddles of paint. Do, like thin coats, thin, light, even coats. And as I said, on your second coat, that will generally cover anything. But you can see here, just one coat covered all the words. And I purposely painted the bottom of these legs ahead of time so that I could turn it over like this and show you guys what it would look like when it was all done. Now, because I don't want you guys to sit here and watch me put staple after staple after staple in this, we're stopping the stapling now, but you would go ahead and put your different staples in, put your staples in all along the edge so that it looks nice and neat. I'm going to give this back to my cameraman And I just wanted to show you one other thing really quick. So this was my scrap fabric left over for when I cut this. And I thought that it would be fun maybe just to add a little bit more color to the stool. So I just cut my fabric into some strips, tied them together. I actually left a little bit of the tail from the tie on there. I like that for texture. And I'm just going to kind of wrap this around in no particular order or direction, just to add more to it. And you might want to do something like this, and you could cover the whole thing, and literally I just took it and tied it just like that. I liked having the tails on there. I just left them, and I could cover, you know, everything on this or just a piece of it. And I'm just going to take it and tie it to my end. And it's done. Now I did that really fast. So I was doing it at home, not on the video. I might, you know, have a little bit more of an order to it. But there we go. So that's your stool. And that was really pretty easy. So cameraman, can you take that away? So does anybody have any questions on what we did today? What you saw? The video will be saved. Whoops, sorry about that. The video will be saved, so you can go back and watch it later, or for those of you who didn't catch us on Saturday morning, this will be here on our page. We are here Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Doing virtual programming, or, you know, Facebook Live. And then we are here at 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings. So if you enjoyed this, tune in for more Girl Scout programming. If you're not a Girl Scout and you'd like to find out more information on becoming a Girl Scout, you can pop over to our website. That is gswo.org. Stands for Girl Scouts of Western Ohio.org. Again, gswo.org. And you can get more information about becoming a Girl Scout. And check out our Facebook pages, our blogs, Instagram. It was fun being here with you this morning. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. And hope to see you again. Bye-bye.